midweek. Um, Big week. Sometimes international events. This is this week in Missouri politics midweek update. Sometimes the international events kick in. A lot to talk about. A lot to talk about in Missouri politics, even. And I bring in a guy. We only do the call in if it's legit. Like I prefer it in studio. However, when a guy is at the center of something and it's good and it works, I'm going to bring in a dude. A lot of you are going to know him, but if you don't, this guy has paid his dues. He's earned his stripes. Legitimate Republican insider, chief of staff of the Senate, Senator Ben Brown. I guarantee you, next summer and fall, he'll be at the center of some campaign. Eddie he's a St. Louis young Republican, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I want to bring in my buddy Frank Catanzaro. Frank, welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics Midweek Update.
Hey, good morning, Scott. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing it remotely. I appreciate it.
And a handsome devil, as you can see now. I try to find uglier people than me to be on, but I can only have Senator Brown on so many times. It starts to get redundant. So Frank, let's start off. I mean, I always have a rule about state stuff up here, then maybe national, international. But it does feel as though what's happening in the Middle East kind of cuts down to everyone. Give me your take.
Yeah, when the news came in last week of the horrendous attacks on Israel from Hamas and Iran with Hezbollah, it hit me close to home. I've always been a strong supporter. I have Jewish relatives. I have Jewish friends. And to see a country like Israel that's gone through so much strife since its total existence, it's really unfortunate. And it's right now, it's time for us as Americans to step up, do what's right, help our ally, our greatest Middle Eastern ally, which is Israel, to ensure that they have the resources they need to fight these terrorist insurgents, because there have been way too many innocent Israelis that have been slaughtered over the last few days.
Okay, let me hit you with two questions about that. Number one, you understand Republican politics as well as anybody I know. You have, I always have a high regard for people that actually, what it's like to stick a yard sign in the ground. You know what it's like to knock a door on a hot August day. You know what it's like to knock a door on a chilly October afternoon. The Republican Party, its support for Israel seems rock solid. Where are the roots of that come from?
I think the Republican Party, I think Americans as a whole, even Democrats, have always had a strong support for the Jewish people, and especially.
You talked to your congresswoman lately? I don't think she's in on that. Americans as a whole.
Well, Scott, I had just actually moved from Congresswoman Ann Wagner's district over to Dogtown, so I haven't had the chance.
We got Ann Wagner representation here.
To meet the illustrious Cori Bush yet, but I'd be happy to tell her. I mean, we as a country support Israel. And, we support free people, and we want to make sure that we can offer the resources of the country that we can to help our greatest ally.
Okay, I hear more and more people, someone we both know well, Eric Schmidt, has had some reservations about Ukraine. I see no reservations about sending money to Israel. What's the difference?
Well, I mean, we've been sending a lot of money. We've sent billions of dollars to Ukraine in this proxy war to fight the Russians. And honestly, the fact that they're taking over Ukraine, which I honestly believe they don't have a right to come in there and infringe on Ukraine's rights. But the difference here is with Israel is Israel has different capabilities, different defense systems. They're one of the greater military powers in that region. But we've always had a long-standing relationship with Israel. We've always been committed to ensuring that they have a right to exist, that they're protected, and they are our greatest ally. So
does it raise your eyebrow, though? I mean, you talk about, the credible reports coming out of Israel are horrific. You're talking about invading, which they did. They left their territory into Israel, just like Russia did. Taking hostages is what they've done. There's there's thousands of children that's been credibly alleged have been taken from Ukraine into Russia.
Children and men, right?
There's been rapes. They intentionally bombed civilian targets. How is Russia and Hamas different, and how is Ukraine? And to me, do you see the similarities and why it's like, okay, so we don't want to help these folks, but want to help these folks?
Well, and I think that there's probably a divide between some Republicans that want to support Ukraine and others that do not. So obviously there's some disagreements between certain members, but at the end of the day, Scott, I mean, my belief's always been that we need to be helping our allies. And when innocent people are being slaughtered, whether they're in Ukraine or they're in Israel, or they're in could hopefully, let's not say in Taiwan, we need to be able to provide them relief and make sure that these heinous acts don't occur. Terrorism is terrorism, bottom line.
Okay, let's get back to some state politics. St. Louis Young Republicans, one of the most active chapters in the state. Love the organization, the online presence. I know you've had a lot to do with that. Before we get into the drama, give me a little bit of rundown on who's some of the key folks in the St. Louis Young Republicans and what does the club accomplish? What's the goals there?
Sure. So I run our St. Louis chapter. I also just took the mantle over to run our state Young Republican organization. So that'd be the Missouri Young
Congratulations.
Republicans. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I have a lot of work ahead of me. I work closely with, I think you know him, fellow chief of staff and secretary of our state party, Jamie Murphy. So Jamie serves on our state board, as well as he helps me in St. Louis as my vice president. So he's been pretty instrumental. We've been working pretty closely together. I think you know Mary Catherine McElhone.
Yeah.
She was our former state chair. She is helping us in St. Louis a little bit. And we've got a lot of great folks all across the state. You know, we've got individual chapters. We got our St. Louis organization that I run. We've got a chapter down in Springfield, one in Jefferson City that Seth York runs. We've got one in St. Charles, Kansas City. And we're trying
What is the point of when you're running for office? What do the St. Louis Young Republicans try to effectuate inside the party or to get votes? Or give me the elevator pitch of why Kelton should join the Young Republicans.
Well, first, we'd love to have you, Kelton. And our main mission is to recruit, train, and elect the next generation of Republican leaders. So we're trying to ensure that young people between the ages of 18 and 40, you know, can go to their local chapter, get involved with a local campaign. It could be as small as someone running for school board or city council, or they could be running for state rep, state senate, all the way up to our federal positions. So get them engaged with their candidates. They might want to work for them, volunteer, or themselves run. So we try to be that resource for folks and help get good Republicans elected to office.
All right. So my recollection is you have a big fall event. You have kind of a big late spring event that I get the emails for and get your reports from. I think it's a real testament to your organization that you have an event on a Sunday in St. Louis and you roll out some of the biggest names in the party. Anymore, it's not a St. Louis focused party as it used to be. You have folks come in from all over this. That's all Shane Schuler, Girl at 44. That is not a short drive. So you had a big event. Give me the top folks that were there. Give me the headliners.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had 7 speakers come out. We had Bill Eigel out there. We had Jay Ashcroft. We had Vivek Malik. We had Vivek Malik came out. He actually lives in the area, so it was a little bit closer for him. But Shane Schuler,
state senator now, right?
I'm sorry.
You had Andrew Koenig there, right?
I did. Yeah, we had Senator Koenig, who's
you know that guy a little bit, right?
I think I'm familiar with him a bit. So Senator Koenig came out. He's always been a good supporter of the organization. We had Ben Brown as well, who spoke. So it was a pretty good event, and we had a great.
So let me just go through what I heard, right? And you could call bullshit. You can, when you say push the button, I'll push the bullshit button, because obviously when you have a little drama, believe it or not, Republican events can be a little dry sometimes. This one was not. So if it gets too big, you just tell me, and I'll hit the button here. So throughout the last few months, since Bill Eigel's been running for governor, he's trained his guns on Jay Ashcroft, right? A lot of folks said he's not really running for governor. I'm like, well, if he's not running for governor, why would you attack the front runner? So he starts attacking Ashcroft. I've been in a room where he does it, and Republicans, you've been in a lot of Republican events, so have I. It's not it's not normal, from what I've seen, for someone to come out and attack another Republican in the room they're running against, just straight out. Like, and Bill, say what you will about Bill Eigel, he can throw an attack. He can lay a glove on you. So he basically attacked over. There's a thing about foreign-owned land. I have a feeling the state's about to really screw a bunch of working people for Facebook posts with this foreign-owned land stuff. And so Bill comes out. Of course, Bill doesn't vote yes a lot. So he has a lot of leeway with different bills. Jay Ashcroft doesn't vote at all. He sits at the Secretary of State's office. But I guess he got involved in one of the bills where the Secretary of State would keep up with the land. So why don't you give me the version and kind of give – I don't really want to just milk drama, but give me the overview of what happened.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there was a bit of a kerfuffle between the two. So
I like the word kerfuffle.
Yeah. So Jay Ashcroft spoke first. We had our statewides go first. So Jay gave his stump speech, as he normally does, and kind of
didn't attack Bill, right? Just gave his stump speech about why you should vote Ashcroft, right?
Right. There may have been a little dig at the Senate, which I think has kind of been par for the course in Jay's current stump speech. No one
Hell,
by
Bill
name.
gives digs at the Senate.
Oh, I know. So, but it's I've heard a speech similar to it before from Jay. So very similar, just a little bit of a jab at the Senate for not doing their job. And so
you heard of my dad, right? There you go.
Right. So then we had Vivek Malik come up next, and then we had Bill Eigel. So when Bill spoke, Bill did his normal stump speech, then started kind of unloading into Jay.
Now, Bill's a smart cat, right? Bill thinks about if you think Bill Eigel freestyles this stuff, you don't know Bill. Did he go second? And do you think he wanted to go second because he knew he was going to bring heat? I mean, how'd you do that?
We had our statewide elected currents go first, and then we kind of went down based on which office they were seeking.
Gotcha. So Eigel was basically like Jay Ashcroft lied and basically called him a liar. Is it the bullshit button or is that what happened?
Yeah, maybe not the same exact wording. I think he may have used fib or lie. Yeah. I mean, basically said that Jay had lied.
So then Jay had pulled the piece of legislation out and they had a back and forth, right? That's pretty much
basically
the whole
what happened. Thing. It was a heated back and forth. And then some of our audience members kind of started engaging, which is, I think, where more the drama unfolded.
So you have Eigel people and Ashcroft people there. They start arguing?
A little bit, yeah. I think the louder
I don't know if
ones,
you knew this, but Kelton and I have started an illegal gambling operation right here in the show. And, we're going to get to that next, where Kelton's going to have to pay me off so he didn't get his knees broke. Or let's be honest, probably like an ear flick that I would apologize for immediately after. But if the Eigel and Ashcroft supporters broke out into fisticuffs, who wins?
It's a hard call.
I'm going to say the Ashcroft folks, because I think you have your older school traditional Republicans and these new people. I think the old school folks would know how to really, because old school people knew what it was like to run. When you were a Republican, nobody liked you. You had to work extra hard to win races because it was not like it is today. If you file as a Republican, you win that primary, you've won. No problem.
Well, you're saying
Andrew Caney, whoever wins, they can go home for 3 months. They're going to win. I think the Ashcroft people have the old school vibe, and I kind of dig that.
They might. I mean, I wouldn't mess with any of these older folks that come to our events. I don't mess with them.
Who wins? You got to make it. You got to make it. I stuck my neck out. I said Jay's folks win an ass whipping contest. If it's a bar fight like Roadhouse, who's Patrick Swayze?
You know, I mean, Bill is bigger than Jay. So, you know, maybe
I agree with that. I would put Bill over Jay, but as far as the supporters get involved, I think Jay's people whip that ass.
Yeah, I think based on the temperature of the room, there might have been a few more Ashcroft supporters in the room. At least they were a little
That's
more
what I heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And a couple
okay, so the next event you're going to have is going to be sold out. Where are you going to have the next event? When's the next time someone could see folks maybe throw?
I think the casino's got a boxing ring, don't they? One of them. Maybe we could get that donated to us.
That's why this guy's good. I'm gonna push it just so you know. It does say bullshit. It does say bullshit. We have to push it. Let's talk gambling, Frank. I don't know if you heard this, but I started my own illegal gambling operation. But I've been told as long as you do it in the parking lot of an Elks Lodge or something, it's actually legal. So this past week, Kelton made me look like shit. We put $10 on the Mizzou game. We didn't rehearse this. He was supposed to run it up and make me look good. Instead, he just took he took Mizzou and I'd take LSU, which I thought that line, it got down to like 4 throughout the week. I was kind of keeping an eye on it. But I had 6.5 LSU. And Kelton, would you want to, here's your money that you bet. Would you want to hand that back to me now in the ceremonial? I won. Mizzou did not cover. Money to me. I love it. Let me just touch my face with the money. I love it so much. So Frank, this week the line is what? It's Kentucky plus 2.5. Yep. I'm going to go first. I'm taking Mizzou minus 2.5. Kelton, where are you at?
I'm going to have to go Mizzou again.
Jesus, Kelton. We can't. Give me your money. Son of a bitch. Frank, where are you at on this?
I think I'm with Kelton. I think we're going to win by 2.5. I always support our guys.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to switch now and support Kentucky because Kelton's an asshole. Frank, he's our guest. He can obviously take Mizzou. That makes sense. You can't take Mizzou.
I'm also a Mizzou guy. I went to Mizzou.
Okay, I'm going to spot you the $10. And so the three of us are in on this. I'm going to put it right here in our Missouri soybeans illegal gambling money holder thing that Gary sent us. before we get into races, if you're coming to Jeff City, right, and somebody wants to meet you, what hotel do you want to meet them at?
I'm going to the Marriott.
Yeah, Courtyard by Marriott, totally. You may think we rehearse these, but we don't. It just literally is that good. If you're coming in, let's say the Halloween party we're gonna have on the 26th. Let's say you're coming in for an interim hearing. You got to come in for pre-filing. It's always a fun time. The night before pre-filing is a good deal. Courtyard by Marriott. Don't say it's some crappy place. Be a pro. And also, if you're up in the St. Joseph area and you're watching this and it's a little fuzzy, it's because you're not on United Fiber. United Fiber is doing broadband the right way. If you ever wonder, you hear about Millions for Ukraine, and you're like, why in the hell Millions for Missouri? If you take the United Fiber template and you put that on the state, people could watch this show crystal clear, perfect. You could even watch an OnlyFans site from a teacher in St. Clair, crystal clear. If every co-op took the United Fiber model and just replicated it, the state would be in tall cotton. Let's talk about some other races here. Governor's race. What do you think? Where's it at? Where I think let's just start with some base questions. I'm just rapid fire them to you. Bill Eigel has a chance to win this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so too. Jay Ashcroft's a front runner.
Mm-hmm.
Right or wrong?
Right.
Mike Kehoe has the money, and to me, it's like Mike Kehoe's like a running back right now. Mm-hmm. Like the original play was a little confusing, and so things are happening in front of him, and blocking is going on, and different. The play is kind of developing out in front of Mike Kehoe, and he's banking money. I mean, if you could possibly win a statewide primary just by people you personally know, he could win it, right?
Yeah, I would say a lot of the folks involved tended to kind of gravitate towards Kehoe. I've seen a lot of that, and obviously the money advantage.
But look, I mean, there's no question. Jay Ashcroft has a huge advantage from his name ID. I mean, it just is what it is. Plus, Jay Ashcroft ran successfully statewide twice. Mm-hmm. Bill Eigel's never ran statewide. There's a learning curve that goes into doing something like this for the first time. It is, and he's doing it. Bill Eigel jumped in at the top end. So there's a learning curve to running statewide. I don't think there's any question. It's different than a state senate race, no matter how you go about it. But he's jumped in at the very top, which, you know, I'll say this, though, as far as my estimation, he's ran the best campaign so far. I mean, the truth is Republicans want blood. They want fights. They want aggressiveness. And he's taken the fight to the front runner. I just think he's ran the best race. I went to his kickoff. I want to see a better event. I mean, I've been to great events. I'm not saying it was the best event I've ever been to. It wasn't by any rights a tremendous kickoff. I think Eigel is a factor in this race. I think he's the longest shot of the three, but he could win it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this gubernatorial race is just heating up. And I know from a young Republican perspective, you know, we've engaged with all three of these campaigns. We're going to be doing events with all three of these guys individually between now and the primary in August. But you know, just back to the race itself. I know that the recent polling that came out, it looked like Bill, you know, picked up, I want to say 5 or 6 in the most.
Do you believe any of that?
Yeah, I mean,
let's talk. You've watched a lot of polls. I think the only poll that matters is, have you heard of Mike Kehoe? Have you heard of Bill Eigel? Right. There's no one in Howell County that has any way to associate any sort of opinion about Bill Eigel. Now, maybe they've heard of him, and that's all you can really do at this point, a year out. You could maybe say, I've heard of the guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think in the rural areas, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult if you've never ran statewide or you're not in a current statewide position where your name's kind of out there and you're officially visiting these parts of the state. Kehoe's done a lot of work going around to a lot of these different counties. I know he attends, if not almost every Lincoln Day dinner that I've heard of. He's been more places in the state than I've ever been. And I know Bill's going around a lot of them too. So it does take time. You've got to build.
But I'll say of the three of them, ain't nobody gets further than Kehoe. Now, and when Kehoe comes, it's his 8th time to come to a place. There's a crowd. You know, there is the question I would pitch to them is, okay, the 4th time you go to Douglas County, are you seeing that many new people? I'm sure you're seeing some new people. I wonder how many. I think Mike Kehoe is personally very impressive. If you meet Mike Kehoe, I mean, you know, that guy is a big deal, right? If you were just walking through the grocery store and Mike Kehoe was walking by, the way he carries himself, you say, well, that guy's a big deal. I don't know what that guy does, but he's a big deal. I think there's that gravitas that just kind of that just is Mike Kehoe, right?
Yeah, and he's likable. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Mike Kehoe is that original retail politician.
Yeah.
People gravitate toward him, like you said, and when he comes across
But I
someone,
think Bill Eigel has that bite, that
he does.
internet crowd, that angry, pissed off white guy from the suburbs that drinks his fancy coffee. I think Eigel knows how
I
to
don't even
touch
know if
that
he
dude
drinks
and knows how to get that guy pissed off and for him.
Yeah, they're all very different. I mean, they all have different personalities, but they
point.
all kind of appeal to different parts of the base. I've noticed, and I know at our events, even our members. I mean, a lot of them are not sure who they plan on supporting, and these are very educated voters. They pay attention to the issues, but a lot of them like all these guys in different ways. So I think it's going to take a while for primary voters to kind of decide where they're at. You're going to see a lot of ads that are going to be starting running on television later in the summer. That'll be very helpful. But right now, going to these events, meeting folks, getting outside the normal rhythm of things will help too. And I think Bill's kind of has a lot of energy around him right now. We're seeing a lot of him emerging more in the polls. And again, I don't think I could place a bet right now on who's going to win this thing.
So let's talk about another race. You're a good friend of Andrew Koenig's. Interesting race developing for state treasurer. You have Vivek Malik, who was appointed, but is raising money like hell won't have it.
Yep.
You have Cody Smith, the budget chair, is going to get some money. You have the hardest working man in state politics, and Andrew Koenig, a guy you know well. Let me ask you the question I think just pops to my mind. So you have an incumbent that in a one-on-one race, it's more appealing to run against it in a three-way. If you're Koenig and if you're Cody Smith, you'd rather take on Vivek Malik one-on-one. Let me start with the top. If all three are in, can either of them beat Vivek Malik with his enormous fundraising advantage?
I think it's difficult. I think I agree with you on that. I think if it was Koenig versus Malik or Smith versus Malik, it'd be a lot easier for one of those guys to unseat our current treasurer.
Let's talk hogs, dogs, and logs then. I happen to have a very high regard for Andrew Koenig. I have a hard time in my mind seeing him switching to Secretary of State and running against Denny Hoskins. I have not as hard, but I have a little bit of a hard time seeing him run for lieutenant governor against Holly Rader. I kind of think Andrew Koenig is also the type of guy that'll just say, I'll see you out on the field. We'll just do this. We'll just have it out. I don't know Cody Smith as well, but it certainly would make sense. I'm trying to think. Axiom, his consultant, has a person lined up in Holly Rader. I don't know the Secretary of State's race, who all they have. I'm not sure who they have in that. It seems to me there's a way, there's a brewing setup to where if I had to pick which one was the more likely to bounce out, it would be Cody Smith. Am I wrong?
I mean, that's what people are kind of saying, and I would tend to probably agree. But obviously, I'm a little partial since I know Andrew Koenig pretty well.
Sure.
And so
I just think you know him. I mean, I don't think he's going to run against Denny Hoskins. Do you?
No, I've talked to Senator Koenig, and I mean, he's in it to win it. So I don't see him switching.
Yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. All these undercard races, AG is a little interesting, but the other three races are just we want to be governor and we're kind of getting in line, right? That's all these other offices are. So it doesn't matter if you're one or the other. It was hard to get me in my head to see him run against Denny.
Yeah, I can see that. They're very close. I don't exactly know what position why he made the decision to jump in, besides the fact that he feels like he's very qualified for that position, which he is. But it's hard when you're deciding, what's
treasurer. I mean, let's be honest.
Right. Yeah.
It's not I don't think you have to get real qualified.
I think all of them are very qualified for that position, regardless. Our current as well as Cody Smith. And
can you name me a Missouri not qualified to be state treasurer? It's just not much to do, right? I mean, now they got the school choice in their little.
Yeah, I mean
that's about it.
Yeah, I mean it's an important position, obviously, but like I said, I believe so. That's why they exist.
Come on now, that ain't even bullshit. That's horseshit.
I had to push it once just to make sure it worked. Yeah, I mean it is an important office. I mean the MHDC part of it's a big deal. You get to have the same office George Caleb Bingham once had. That's a big deal. You do have a lot of school's choice stuff's been put in that portfolio. That makes it more important. But I mean, of the three, it would probably have lieutenant governor has a function. Mike Kehoe has made that a bigger deal than Mike Parson because I think they were senators. I think that's elevated the stature of it because, well, when you have a guy go from the job to governor, that's a big deal. And then Mike Kehoe being so well thought of amongst the state Senate. I think that job has elevated in recent years, but really the norm is it's not as key of a position. It's you're waiting to run for governor, which is what all these, even attorney general to a large extent, is you're waiting as the
and
last two guys,
I think
as
some
the last
states
three guys, the last four guys. I'm trying to think back. What's the last AG that didn't run for governor or U.S. Senate? Webster did. Who was before Webster? Guys, I'm predating myself here. I'm not sure you've had an AG that didn't bounce. They all try to, which is it's their right. I mean, I think ambition is a good thing because the only way you move up is do a good job there. I mean, I think it helps. So let's talk about some of these state senate races you know a lot about. Let's just start in the one Senate 15 pretty darn well.
I do.
You probably know everybody running. You got David Gregory, Mark Carter. You have a gentleman from Wildwood, right? The mayor of Wildwood, Mr. Bolin. Is that correct?
Yeah, Jim Bolin. He's the mayor of Wildwood.
Am I skipping somebody, or is it the three of them right now?
Nope, just those three to my knowledge are declared unless someone else jumps in.
So what let's take the three out because if I had to guess, someone's going to want to hire you. If I was running for state senate in that district, I'd go hire the guy. I mean, you remember it was later than this even. It was probably like early October. Well, I guess it was. It would be early October. Well, gosh, time flies. Early October 2020. I mean, I saw polls that showed Koenig down 9, 7, 6.
Yeah.
Dev Lavender is a good candidate. Hardworking, raised a ton of money, outraised the Republican, which you don't see a lot. And then he come in and wins by 9.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to win this district. What do those three guys have to do to win that district?
It comes down to obviously fundraising is important. Andrew Koenig might not have raised as much as Deb Lavender, but between his PAC and his campaign committee, there were
working his ass off.
And the main thing was as a candidate and his team, they worked their butts off, and they were out there knocking doors every day, even on Sunday, between it starting in the spring of 2020 until election day on whatever November 4th or 5th.
Let me ask you a question about that race. Do you think it was? I think when you win by 9, you were going to win. It wasn't just one thing. Like when you win a football game by 20 points,
right?
It's not really one thing. But I do think the fact that you guys were on doors so heavy and she wasn't helped the spread.
Yeah, no, I think we probably picked up 3 to 4 points just through our grassroots efforts.
But it wasn't what won it. But it definitely, I think it helped.
The polling was clearly off from the beginning. Even the poll the year before that was done through MoScout. I mean, I think he was tied, if not a point ahead, even the year before. And then just incrementally, it just kept going down. But they were basing a lot of that off of national polling too, I think. And it's also the question of who's actually doing these phone surveys now. Who's picking up a landline?
Oh, God, can you imagine being in the polling business? I mean, I can't imagine being in that business right now, having to figure out what works, what doesn't work. Putting together an accurate poll on something, man, I think that's the hardest job in all of politics right now.
They're getting better at it. I know they're doing more cell phone surveys. Yeah, they're doing more cell phone surveys because.
Do you answer any phone number on your phone that you don't know the number?
No, a lot of them are doing text.
Kelton, let's ask. Kelton's more normal than you and I. If someone calls you and it's not a number you have saved in your phone, what's the chances you answer it?
Oh, near 0.
See, I'm a flat 0. If you call me and I don't have your number saved, maybe if you call me from like 751-0000 or something, I might answer that. But for the most part, if you call me and I don't have your phone out, now if you text me and say who you are, that's the way human beings interact now. So out of the 15, Gregory has the best chance to raise the most money. He's ran for state office before. Mark Carter's ran a bunch of times out there. He's got, I would think that name ID is hard to have it, but it's a transient area to a large extent, right? People move in and out of Chesterfield all the time.
Yeah, they do. Mark Carter.
Bolin, I guess, has a base in Wildwood, but I mean, historically, mayors don't transition to state senate nearly as well as state rep, just because if you were the mayor of Wildwood and was a state rep district, Wildwood would be what, half or more than a state rep district. In the state senate district, it's maybe a 6th, 7th of the district. So it's still a little different. Plus, it's not like when you're mayor of a suburb, people don't necessarily attribute themselves with the suburb. They attribute themselves with the larger city name. So Bolin, I've heard is a great candidate, but there is some work to do there. Am I wrong to think that Harder and Gregory are the front runners?
I don't really think there is a front runner right now. I haven't seen any polling for this race, and I think they all bring something different to the table. And I think
wouldn't
you
Harder have an advantage in early polling because he
He
has
would-
ran several times out there.
That was always
I would think early, however Harder polls early is probably his best polls because everyone they're polling's voted for him before, or most of them, right?
most of them, yeah. But the other thing is, yes, he's been on the ballot. He was first elected to county council in 2014. Then again in 2018, he was on the ballot last year, which is helpful.
I can
But
remember
then-
that. That's how old I am.
But then again, you've got to consider how many people know who their county councilman is. That's not within our political circle, but our Republican voters. Not many. They'll know who Ann Wagner is. They'll know who some of these statewide candidates are. They might know their state senator and state rep. And when you get down to county councilmen and some of the school board and some of those races, the name ID just isn't as valuable as people think it is. But he would have more of a name ID edge than Gregory would, even though he ran statewide, and then Jim Bowen, because Jim Bowen's going to be well known in his neck of the woods, which is Wildwood, which I actually think makes up a little bit more than a sixth of the district. I'll check the numbers.
Is that right?
Wildwood's
growing, so
it is growing in the new districts. So the old district was the Senate District 15 used to be a mix of West and South St. Louis County. So you used to have Sunset Hills, you used to have Kirkwood, you used to have a little bit of that area north of Oakville.
And they've cut all that out, right?
They cut all that out. That's now Tracy McCreary's district.
And it's pretty much Chesterfield, Baldwin, Wildwood.
It's all West County. So yeah, Chesterfield, Baldwin, Town and Country.
Can a Democrat compete there?
I mean, the Democrats they're looking at it. I think it is still a solid. I think it's a solid Republican seat. I think this is a primary race to watch, and that's it.
Well, you could have drawn that district to where the 15th was competitive. You could have give some of that Kirkwood back and Webster, and it would have been a competitive general election district. But I think they drew it. That's about the last island of Republicans you can get in St. Louis County, right?
It is.
I mean, they pretty much put most of the Reds' parts in that district.
So technically, Eureka, which is St. Louis County, is Ben Brown's district, a little sliver. So you've got two Republicans technically, but you're right. I mean, it really is the last oasis for state senators.
They're just slowly easing them out across the river. Let's talk about the 23rd. You're familiar with. You got a primary there. Could be 4 or 5. Who knows? But you've got a lot of your North County folks have moved across the river into St. Charles. Is the 23rd a competitive district for the Democrats yet, or is it still one of those things where it's like just not quite there?
I don't think it's quite there yet. I haven't crunched the numbers as much on the 23rd as I have on the 15th, but I would still say that's mainly going to be a competitive primary. You'll have to spend some resources in the general. Now, we do see the state rep districts becoming a lot more competitive in kind of that Main Street, St. Charles area. You got Adam Schwadron there now. You've got Travis Wilson that just came in. His district's a little more of a general election play. But we still need to be investing resources in that area because that is it was probably St. Louis County what it was 20 years ago.
No, I mean, to me, the old 15th that Koenig won, that is trending away from Republicans. I think he overperformed what anybody else was going to run in that district. So if you're saying Koenig was 9, the real district's probably at 5. I think with Donald Trump still in politics, it edges closer to that margin of error. St. Charles is further out, but it's trending the same way, and you really can't draw that any different. I mean, it's not like the next census you can go loop more Republicans in. It just kind of doesn't work that way.
No,
I mean, you've got St. Charles, and you've got the middle of St. Charles County, and you got Wentzville out there that's driven up its own population center. You're going to have to. I'm not sure that the 23rd will become a district Democrats can compete in. I'm with you, though. I don't know if it's this cycle. I think if Phil Cristofanelli is a nominee, I think he's there 8 years. After Phil, might be tougher to hold.
Yeah. No one knows what the future holds. No one knows which direction either party's going to go in the next 4 to 8 years. So I think there's a lot of unknowns. But if things continue to trend the way they are, I think you're right. I think the 15th could possibly be a very competitive.
Got a little breaking news, Frank. I wish we had a breaking news thing to put on, Kelton. Can we make one of those?
I can try.
Dean Plockers just announced he's running for lieutenant governor. He's officially, Missouri's always been his home. He's saying he's going to raise his kids and secure the future. He's going to protect our farmland from China, our classrooms from liberal indoctrinations, and our families from Biden's failed economy. He's going to do all that while he's running. Together, we can lead our state in conservative accomplishments. He went to, wow, listen to this. He graduated from Ladue, right? He received a BA in political science and a minor in classical civilizations from Middlebury College. I wonder where the hell that even is. Then he got his doctorate, his Juris Doctorate, to be a lawyer from St. Louis University School of Law. Middle class roots.
Yeah, Vermont.
I tell you what, his wife's one of the sharper spouses I've ever seen in politics. Break that down for me. So it's now, people talked about Dean Plocker maybe sliding to Secretary of State. He's running for lieutenant governor. Size the race up for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to have a competitive lieutenant governor race, and I actually had heard rumors he might be jumping into this. So it's good to hear that we have another candidate in there. I think it's going to be. I think it'll shape up to be a really interesting race, the LG, and who knows if a third candidate might kind of wander in too to make it even more.
Bring me. Paul Berry's running.
That's right. Paul Berry is running. That's right. You're right.
Break it out. If you're the St. Louis Young Republicans and you have a St. Louis person running for lieutenant governor, do you feel like you have to help him out, or do you stay out of it until somebody wins a primary?
Yeah, so we the Young Republicans don't engage in primaries at all. So it's part of our bylaws for our state.
That's no fun, Frank. That's no fun.
I know it's not fun, but we got to abide by the rules. So we function the same way.
I don't, but I see your point.
So we function the same way the Republican Party would. We kind of stay out of the primary. We give our members access to all these candidates to kind of decide who they think is the best fit.
Frank, give folks. I need two things before I let you go. First of all, thank you for the time.
Absolutely.
Number two, break it down. Where can somebody get involved in Young Republicans?
Absolutely, they can. If they're in the St. Louis area, they can go to our website stlyrs.com. That's St. Louis Young Republicans. We're on Facebook. Also, if you don't live in St. Louis, get engaged. We got chapters all across the state. Visit us on Facebook at Missouri Young Republicans to get more involved.
How can folks find you on, let's say, Twitter?
So I'm at Frank J. Catanzaro on Twitter, or X is what they call it now, which I'm getting used to.
Are you getting used to it? I still call it Twitter.
No, I still call it Twitter, but I think they want us to call
I don't like the guy that bought it. And the reason is this. He came in and said, okay, I'm going to get rid of these bots. I enjoy Twitter. But like, if you want to give me shit, I kind of want to read that. But if just some guy in his basement that didn't have the balls put his name on it, I just don't care. And I'm not mad about it. It takes away from like my enjoyment when you have people that don't put their name on their stuff. I don't think that's a good business model for Twitter. I actually like it when somebody I know, or even someone from Missouri that seems like they're a real person, if they want to give me feedback or call me an asshole or whatever, I want to hear that. I kind of like that. It helps me train my filter. But people that don't have the balls to put their name on stuff, I thought he was going to get rid of those. But they're actually worse. I have like 12 or 13,000 followers now. I'll bet half of them are just fake bullshit. Yeah. I kind of disappointed him on that. If you can have an electric car and you can send a rocket to the moon, maybe you could figure out the bot shit, right?
You would think. I mean, I haven't been interacting. I'm not on a Twitter as much as you are, but you would think. You would think. I mean, I can't say, and I've heard they might be charging for Twitter now. Like if you want to just use it, like as a normal person.
See, I actually like Twitter. I would pay for Twitter because I like news about the Cardinals. I like to read this Israeli-Palestinian thing. I think it's very, very interesting to read about. Yep. I enjoy Twitter as a concept. I just kind of don't care about some of the baggage. And again, if you think I'm a jerk, you probably have a very good sense of character and way to read people. I respect that. But I just don't care if you don't have the balls to like say, okay, I think you're a jerk. If it's like Wombat 52 or something, I just don't care what Wombat 52 thinks. You know what I mean? It's just not what I'm going to sit and listen to.
Right.
And it cuts back the enjoyment of it. I really think the electric car guy should figure that out. And he kind of talks a big game, but I've not seen him deliver on Twitter.
I think these are all valid criticisms. Maybe you should tweet at him or X him, whatever they're calling it now.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it X. That just sounds dumb.
I don't even know what are they. So if they're not calling them tweets anymore, what are they calling them? That's my question.
That's a great point. I guess they call them X's, which I guess I'm loading up a few of those now.
I don't know. I thought it was fine before, but
Well, Frank, let us know when you're going to referee your next fight. I mean, Young Republican event. We'd love to know about it in advance. Folks, get involved. Look, I'm telling you, if you want to actually get involved in something that's like chill and adds a little fun to it, shoot Frank a text. Go give it a try. The St. Louis chapter does a good job. I've actually spoken at their events before. You can have a beer. They're good dudes. They're gonna welcome you in. It's kind of a neat group to enter into your social groups with. I'm gonna be back this afternoon. Mark Alford's gonna call us whenever they either they get a speaker or they get a break in picking a speaker. Mark's gonna call. We'll be back with a midweek update this afternoon. Sunday on the show, we're gonna have somebody that can talk on the Palestinian side and the Israeli side. I've watched these interviews. Frank, what do you think about this? I've watched some interviews of when people try to interview a Palestinian and an Israeli at the same time.
Go well.
They're so emotionally scream at each other, right? I think I'm going to do is I'm going to interview one at a time.
Might be a good call. Who you having?
Well, Neven Aish, and I my hillbilly dialect may have screwed that up. She's from St. Louisan, very, very passionate. And I think maybe Keith Beardsley. I've got a couple people running me somebody down. But I want to ask real questions, and it seems like when I watch these interview segments on Sky News or BBC or whatever, they just yell about old stuff, and it's very hard to talk, and also your heart goes out to people that are so fired up about something so intensely personal. So I think what we're gonna do is interview them individually. That just feels better. What do you think?
I think it might be more appropriate with everything going on.
Yeah, because
you're going to get both perspectives here.
I don't want the show to turn into a Young Republican event, right?
Oh, you wish
that'd be better for ratings, I suppose.
I mean, your events are pretty fun, Scott, but we'll have to do one with you soon.
I mean, I don't have statewide officials calling each other liars, and I like to have a good time, but I think you've got me beat on fun. I mean, props to you for making politics fun again.
Well, thanks, Scott. That's what we're here for.
All right, buddy. Hey, thanks a lot. We'll see you and hope to see you in St. Louis soon.
Thanks for having me, Scott. Take care.
That was Frank Catanzaro. The dude knows his politics, as you could tell. I like a guy that's paid his dues. Frank's worked his way up. He actually is a dude that actually puts time into working. Now he's up the ladder, but he's actually earned it. He didn't parachute in at the top. He's actually earned his way up. Smart guy, knows his stuff. Appreciate him joining us. The Young Republican thing is like fun. I just don't think anybody's going to give a damn about it come voting time. But it was neat to hear and have people tell you about. My gut tells me it'll those two are just getting started fighting. It's going to go on. I think Wild Bill's coming in the corral shooting, baby, and I think it's a more fun race to watch because Bill is in that arena firing off. Watch for Kelton. I guess we'll have an hour updates what they told us.
Yes.
So either there'll be a speaker selected, and then Mark Alford's going to come tell us all the juicy details, see if anybody got in a fight or something cool, see if he decked that Adam Sandler looking guy, or they don't have a speaker, and it'll probably be even more interesting because there'll be even more drama to talk about with Mark Alford. Mark Alford, if you don't know, is just a man's man. He's just a guy. He's just a dude. And I like the hell out of him. I think you're going to like him too. We'll see you guys back here sometime this afternoon, and we'll see you Sunday.